This chapter, you've got 2 extra credit options. One is to play the right-hand part of Great Grey Owl on its own, and the second option, which is more difficult, is to play the left-hand part of Great Grey Owl on its own. So there are a bunch of new ideas thrown into the mix here. So some of them we've covered already, but others are still to come in the next couple of chapters. So one thing that we have going on is actually the fact that we're in a minor key. So we've got 2 flats. You might initially think B flat major, but looking at all of the clues, ending on a G in the bass part, frequent uses of F sharp throughout the piece, that leads us to conclude that we're in the key of G minor. So one thing is just the fact that we're in a minor key. Another thing is that we are now incorporating this time signature, 6/8. Now, that's something that we haven't seen before in our repertoire pieces. What this essentially means is that you're going to be thinking of 2 beats in every measure, and each of those 2 beats is divided into 3 parts. So, for instance, these 3 notes together happen within beat 1. These 3 notes together happen within beat 2. You'll learn a little bit more about this in a separate chapter on advanced rhythms. But for right now, you can certainly figure out the notes. You can figure out all of the fingerings that are deliberately missing because you've been given enough clues. Now, the other new bit of material is the fact that we're using chords now in the left hand. So there are plenty of moments in this piece where you're playing 3 different notes at the same time with your left hand. So that's a significant challenge in the left hand part. So let's go over these one part at a time. So let's just pay attention only to the right hand at the beginning. 3rd finger on B flat, 2nd finger presumably on A, thumb on G. You'll stretch a little bit here. This rhythm you'll learn from the recording perhaps, or you might figure it out if you've been working ahead in the textbook. Excuse me, we've got a little crossover at this moment. Then you'll stretch a bit at the end of that phrase. The second line of music starts similarly to the first, but you get a kind of a climactic moment here. Here we've got one of those accidentals that pops up in the course of the piece, so it's not part of the key signature. It is just a sharp right in front of an individual note, so watch out for that. You'll be stretched out quite a bit, actually, with your right hand towards the very end of the piece. You'll see how that looks in the video showing my hands at the keyboard. So that takes care of the right hand. For the left hand, as you might guess, when you have a set of 3 notes to be played at the same time, the bottom finger number goes for the bottom note, the middle finger number goes for the middle note, the top finger number goes for the top note. So anytime you have a repeated chord, of course, you can use the same fingering here as you used there. Then when you change chords, keep track of your finger numbers. Make sure, of course, that you're playing the right note. So if you have an F sharp in there, then, of course, that's going to be a black key. Going ahead, though, in the left hand, you'll notice that especially for these 2 measures here, it looks like we've got 2 quasi-independent parts going on. So let's check this one out. At this moment in time, your pinky is playing this D and your thumb is playing that D. But your thumb holds on to that D while your lower part of the left hand plays these other notes. So presumably with fingers 4 and 3 connecting you up to this simultaneity here. So you're basically doing 2 things at once with your left hand. So anytime you have the up-stemmed parts, so stems going up, that's the tenor line, if you will, the stems going down, the bass line. And so for this passage, your upper part of your left hand, or the part furthest to the right, will be tackling the tenor part, while the bottom fingers, the fingers to the left on your hand, will be tackling the bass clef part. Then you're back into chords for a little while, and actually for the rest of the piece, there are a couple of moments where you just have 2 notes at a time to worry about. But other than that, not much to report. So the left hand will take a little bit of practice. So please watch the video where you see my hands taking care of everything.